I got the microphone here. It was over there. This is my, let me see. There it is. There's my mic. Okie doke. Welcome, everybody. I see you've already, a couple of you guys jumped the gun on the questions and stuff. So let's see. Hi, George, Rustan, Euro Nick, Brian. Good to see everybody. Alriza, HP, how you guys doing? Oh, good. Thank you, Brian. Oh boy. Okay. Hey, Mask. Okay. I guess I think it was last week or sometime somebody said, why don't you have a question answer? Well, the reason so far I haven't had a question and answer until now was that I some of the other, I guess, video blogs or YouTube videos seem to be doing that a lot, and they read them out and so forth. So I'll take them as they come. If this is something you guys like to do, we can do it every now and then. It just was something I thought, well, what's going on? Yeah, Brian, that's the one. Will the human race survive? I don't know. Okie doke. Well, let's get started. Hi, Al. Okay, what I'll do is that some of the early guys, I'm gonna have to I'll sort of jump over them after taking each one. We'll start off with George Scott's question about what do I prefer, Arabic or Roman numerals? Also, when I tell which watch. Well, okay, I can do this one. This is my, whoops, let's see, there it is. This is my Lyrique Etude number 2. Okay, try to get it in focus. Focus here is really, there it is. There's in focus, sort of. Anyway, that's what that is. So it's a Lyrique Etude number 2. As far as preference is concerned, it depends on the style of the watch. Sometimes I like the Arabic, sometimes I like the Roman. It's not a big thing to me. It's like whatever seems to work with the general style is okay with me on that. That's something else too about an analog watch, is that I like an analog watch that I can look at and tell by the relative positions of the hands what's going on, rather than the exact aspects of it. Okay, let me ask. Here's one from Rustam. Seems like new watch companies are predominantly going towards larger watch sizes, going upwards. Actually, they're going down. I know what you're saying. They may look like they're going up, but they did, and now they seem to be coming down a bit. The average watch size was moving up toward, as an average, up toward 40, 41 and stuff, and that was down more toward 39, 38 as an average. I sort of like them between, comfortable size for me is between about 38 and 41. I don't like them any bigger, and some smaller ones, 37s, even 36s on some watches I can wear. So, I think if you have a smaller wrist size, you can find some great buys on that. On some now, there may be more like you can find a solid gold vintage and one of the smaller sizes for great prices. Okay, Euro Nick. Why would anyone ever buy a watch with an in-house movement? I can think of a lot of reasons, but because that shows, first of all, it's a commitment of a watch company to go all in for a watch. That's one thing. I mean, because it's quite an investment to go to have your own movement. That's one reason. Now, it's talking about the first service cost will cost a fortune. It can cost a lot. It depends on a watch. I think basically the price of a watch a watch service depends on the kind of movement and the what needs to be done with it. Uh, from a simple service to a full overhaul. Now, a really expensive watch usually has a really expensive service because not everybody can do the service. So I don't know. That's my view of it. I had a service done by Chanel, and that was I think a fairly extensive one because I think they had to get some new parts. I think there were some issues with the Caliber One, and Michael Kalb and I both had exactly the same issue, and they had to do a lot of work to get it done right. But boy, did they ever get it done right. They didn't charge us a nickel on it either because I guess it must have been within the warranty or something. Anyhow, so I mean, there's the watchmakers. If you read watchmakers, independent watchmakers, their favorite is something like the ETA or Solita for two reasons: one, they're familiar with it, and two, they can get the parts. Uh, so I don't know. I That's my view on that. Okay, what else do you guys have? Okie doke. Let's see what we got here. Oh boy. We got a lot of stuff. Okay. Allie, I like you to roast people collection. We will send you pictures. Oh no, I mean, like sort of to do an Archie on that. I don't think so. I mean, it's very easy. It's I think it's more important and more fun to find out what's interesting about a collection. I think every collection tells you a lot about the person doing the collection and how interesting they can make it with the resources that they have. I mean, anybody can sort of troll a collection, so I don't want to do that. It would be devastating if I did. You don't want to hear that. Okay. All right. Let's see what you got here. What's the meaning of life? You always find out the the instant before you die. It's like the day before you die. Would you want to know, for example, the day before you know you're going to die, you've won the lottery? There's something for you. Or you give us a goat update. We got 4 goats now. They're all fat and happy. The goat population in the back, God, I don't know how many years they've been back there. Before the goats lived there, a guy with quarter horses lived there, and he had it looked like a home built airplane. And one day he was revving up that engine, and I swear they got about 13 acres behind us, and there was I think the guy was lining up his plane and wondered if he could clear the trees. And he finally, I think, wisely decided there was no way that could happen. So the goats are doing very well. That's the goat update. Okay, let's see what you got. Navid Batty, I'm doing fine, thanks. Okay, Omega Constellation, Quartz 36 millimeter, or Tudor Royal. I don't talk about Quartz. I mean, Quartz is, I mean, here's my view of Quartz. I have nothing against Quartz, but let's say that this was a discussion of cats and dogs. And so we're talking about dogs and somebody's talking about cats. That's sort of like not the topic. So come on, come up with a better question than that, Navid. Okay, let's see what we got. Hey, CT Davis, how you doing? I'm glad to see you here. HP, you have many videos about identifying the next big watchmaker before they get so famous they become unaffordable. Do you think you have found one? So here's what I found out, HP. Unfortunately, yeah, I could name a couple of them. One is that young Frenchman. And then there's B Dot, I think, B Dot and somebody in Peterson, those two guys, both of them. But the thing is that I swear to God, the first watch they made, they were really high. So the answer is, and there was this one guy from China who seemed on a lunch break, he'd design a new movement. The guy was incredibly talented. He's one of the independent watchmakers. And ADHI, I think is what it's called, that organization. And I thought, oh boy, this guy, he'll be that didn't happen. Look at what another guy who's on the rise, and he's been on the rise for a while, is Jaime Osaka, something like that. His watches were high to begin with. None of these guys are sort of struggling along, and some of the ones who had their own movements were the movements weren't so hot. So I'm sorry about that, but I'm always looking for them, and as soon as I get mine, then I can tell everybody else. I tell you one to watch. Let me tell you one I think is going somewhere, and it's not an individual, but it's a company, and that's Chanel. The Chanel J12, the sort of the everyday one that they have, and they come out in black and white. Essentially, the black is the guys and the white is for the women, and they have a few other things in between. And those are the movements by Kinesi, and they're sort of interesting movements. But they came out with one recently called the J, wasn't called the J anything. It was called the I think maybe it was just called the Excalibur 6. The one that they did in mine, in my Chanel Monsieur Chanel, was the one that Romain Gauthier had done some work with. He didn't do the whole thing, but he did some of it, and plus they used his parts. And so I've been looking at that. So I'm looking at what Chanel is coming out with. Unfortunately, here's the cover of Eurostar. By the way, if you don't get Eurostar, you should. And the best way to do it is join the Horological Society of New York, and you get it free. And this is called the dial issue. It's got a lot of great things on dials. And one of the things they have here is this thing about Chanel, and they have this incredibly nice movement. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Anyway, well, I'll take up a whole bunch of time with it. I don't want to do that. Take a look, though, just sort of take a look at the Caliber 6 that Chanel came out with, and tell me what you think about it. I just thought, man, but it's only for that woman's watch with the automata, which is sort of it's Coco Chanel doing this. It's sort of, it reminds me of some other very simple automata that was done by people like Sven Anderson and some other characters like that. Okay. Okay, Eric, I see. The Watch World, just a fantastic, keeping it real channel. Oh, I thank you. James, Carey, how you doing? Any thoughts on Roger Dubuis Excalibur 42 millimeters? Yeah, that's a good buy, I think. I think this goes, to earlier, somebody said, do you like Arabic or do you like Roman numerals better? And they have these very stylized Roman numerals in the 42 millimeter. That's a big boy. It is big. And so, but it's like, take it to a bar fight. That has got a great movement in it. And I think it's one worth having. I had two of them, and one was the Excalibur. No, it wasn't the Excalibur. It's called the Sympathy. And I've been looking at Excalibur. So this is one of the ones I've been keeping an eye on, and I want to find one that I like. And there is one I have in mind, and if I can get a good buy on it, I might get it. Okay, let's see what else you guys. Equus Lucis, how you doing? Why do you start collecting watches, and when did you reach your point of no return? First really expensive watch. My apologies if you answered this. My point of no return, that's a good question. It really is. I mean, there's one thing sort of putting your foot in the shallow end and finally go to the deep end. I don't know. It was probably when I really started, I like to put it much later than I started enjoying watches. Okay. I didn't really do it until I got this. I decided to get the Holy Trinity. I was going to get the Holy Trinity. And so I got a Calatrava, and then I got an Overseas, and then I got some kind of Audemars Piguet. I think it was a Jules Audemars, Jules Piguet, one of the two. So I had those three, and that was probably the point. And then I bought one online on an auction, not thinking I would get it, and I ended up with a what was it called? El Raw. Okay. And that watch was, I just thought the world of that watch. And then I found out I got screwed on it with they put an ETA in a movement. And I thought I got a great deal. I got a great screw is what I got. Didn't realize it, but I live and learn. And so, but then you start looking at all these different things. Then I met this guy who had been a judge of he was a GPHG judge, and he taught me a lot. And so, and then talking to people, I think the important thing for us to have these kinds of talks, as well as the kinds of things like the written ones, like High Horology Lounge. Those were set up simply so guys like us could talk about watches. We could talk about our hobby. That's the whole point of it. So anyway, so there's that. I don't know if I answered you or not. Okay, let's see. Where am I? Mr. Davis, now would you really want to get roasted? Oh, sorry, no, because you're right. Who would want to get roasted by me? In early days, prior to finding didn't feature person's watch to share with you. Yeah, I feel guilty about this watch, okay, the one I have on, because everybody else doesn't have theirs. I had to get mine early on because of I wanted to take it to the gala. Then there was a big screw up because we had the fishing game, and it's just been like that. So I don't know. I usually don't talk. I usually don't talk about the watch I'm wearing because I'm talking about some other watches. I know there's a lot of people like to do that, and I guess I could. If somebody asks, I will. How's that? How did you PRM about watches? I'm not. Oh, how did I learn about watches? Just, I tell you, the best way to learn about watches, Eric, to me, is simply being interested in them. You see something and then you follow it up. You do the research, not because somebody is, okay, you better do it or you want to show off. You- I I don't do much. I don't do anything that way. I but rather um, just because you enjoy it. And so the more you enjoy it, the more you keep learning. Best watches for under 20,000. H. Moser. Um, Von Kruel, an opinion on auto walk. I'm not sure what that is. Indiana, USA. Are you familiar with any other watches similar to Favre Luba Twin Power 18,000? No, I'm not. I'm really not. I just broke one. If that'll. Two things happened today with my Favre Luba. One, I broke. I took it to. We had coffee and took the back off, and I was showing it to a friend and stuff. And I got it back, and I something happened to it, and I broke it. So now I got to fix it, which is another fun thing. But the Fave Luba is one of those great watches. The Fave Luba Twin Power is one of those great watches. It has really interesting horology. When I got it, I regulated it, and so I had it was keeping great time until I busted it. I don't know what I did, but anyway, yeah. I don't know of any other ones like that. There probably are. Somebody, I mean, some guy. It was just I learned about it. Or I was talking about how trying to how few watches there were with the twin barrels in parallel, and somebody says bip bip bip, and then Fave Luba twin powers. I thought, well, I got to see about that. A man of them available. That I think would be a fun watch to have, especially if you want to experiment like me. If you're going to experiment with doing regulation and a lot of other things like that, you better get one you're not going to break to practice on. HP, I see you looked up Caliber 6. Isn't that a gorgeous one? Okay, let's see. B. Any cool watch you would recommend for poor watch fans? Well, the Fave Luba's one. One of my favorite that's probably a little more robust is the Tissot. Still, I love that watch. The Tissot Heritage Petite Seconde with it has an ETA 6498-1. So you got an 18,000. So it's not gonna beat itself to death. Okay. The Fave Luba Sea Star. Some of those, Rustin, have the twin power, some don't. Chanel J12 Automation Caliber 6. Yeah. Now, see, this is one of the things that's interesting, Brian. They had the Caliber 1 is in the one that Michael Kolb and I got. And that's with the jumping hour and the retrograde minutes. Love that watch. Did from the moment I saw it. But then what about Caliber 2, 3, 4, and 5? What have they done with those? And so to me, there is a great temptation to go after those and see and learn about them. I think it's really Automata is, I don't know. Some of the uses to them have been R-rated, X-rated, actually. Let's see. Lee, hi, Lee. How you doing, man? So how's the goat? You missed the goat report. So power reserve and date are the complications I like best. Not a GMT chrono or calendar guy. Yeah, I'm not a calendar guy, including date. I do like a power reserve. I also like hand wound. Then I like the lower frequencies. Hi, Indiana. Oh, you got it. Okay. HP to experiment is suggested to start with pocket watches. That's not a bad idea either for two reasons. Um, this morning, what I was doing, I was looking at a video on uh, how to lubricate a watch. My God, I thought it was going to be easy. I ordered the oil and the little pins you use to put the oil in with. And so the one thing I really wanted to look at was the balance wheel and trying to fix the balance, the swing of the balance wheel. So I was watching this one guy. He showed how to do it. I thought, oh my God. I think maybe that's how I broke my watch, just looking at it. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Some other questions. My resistance to $1,000 is because JS, I don't think they offer any advantages. Okay. You've got a 2K watch, a used triple calendar moon phase chronograph. Who does it? Who built it? I prefer less complications, so do I. Okay, let's see what else you got. Power reserve and date. Okay, Vostok amphibia. Yeah, those Russian movements are pretty rough. There was an American watchmaker, and a Russian company bought the whole factory and shipped it to Russia. Forgot the name of it, but some of you guys may know what that is, but that might be an interesting one. For me, Salida is unbeatable, bomb-proof, superb performance, top grade. You know, you're right, Eurolink. Salida is, a lot of people thought, oh, well, Salida is just a knockoff of ETA. Not exactly. A lot of their things are because ETA had to deal with them so that ETA could meet the demand. And so they said, okay, well, they gave ETA the permission and everything else to make theirs. And then sort of ETA started making them. And then that may have had to do with the Swiss government telling ETA that they had to sell to everybody, which is sort of funny. Too bad. One of the things that should have done is it should have really encouraged a lot of watchmakers that weren't using their own movements and were sort of blowing smoke to other ones to start making movements, and it really didn't really do that much for that. Okay, how irresponsible should I be when I buy a watch? I don't know. That's a hard one. To me, I don't think it should be irresponsible at all. You shouldn't buy one. I think a watch that you couldn't afford, or you have to go into debt for, or you have to, dip into junior's college fund. You shouldn't do that. The best way to buy a watch is simply find one and save for it. I've done that before, and then I find out by the time I got it saved up, the watch is long gone, but I find out something I like even better. So, I mean, if you're going to buy a watch, save for it and don't, it's also too, that also is within some people enjoy it. I don't. And and that is flipping. I'm going to buy a watch and I'm going to make money doing it, and buy a watch and then flip it and do this and do that. I don't know. That's, to me, that's not watch collection. That's sort of a type of investment, and I'd rather take my chances on Wall Street. But I guess if you like it, why not? I don't know. If you have a moment, search up Ottawa core. It's a central tourbillon for 3 to 5. I tell you, I'm not that crazy about tourbillons. I got my own tourbillon, my $140 one that I put together. But I will take a look at it. Is it who? What country are they from? Von Kurl Davis, Mr. Davis. Do you know the collective horology guys? I sort of know. I know about them. I think the collective horology guys did something the way something like Lyrique, but different. I've heard of them. I've looked up their thing, and I think there is really very interesting stuff. And any kind of collective thing that watch collectors do, I think is a good thing. It's a good thing. Hey, Russell. Tim Mosso profiled the watch over a year ago. They still have the watch. I think he merged and formed the 1912 group. Do they accept offers? I don't know. The way to find out is try it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Tim is doing now. Tim is certainly knowledgeable about watches and is a tremendous salesman on that, but I just don't know what he's up to. Thomas, hi. Silicone heydays aside, which watch that has silicone inside would you say is the best watch on the market at the moment? Is there a none of the above, Thomas? It's not. I don't hate it. Here's a video that I'm thinking of making. Okay, I'm going to start off and explain I'm going to start off with Rube Goldberg. You got to understand Rube Goldberg to appreciate this. And if you don't, look up Rube Goldberg, because that is how I see watch movements. They are if you think about it, they're all a Rube. Whoops, here it is. They are a Rube Goldberg contraption. All right. Before I retired, I was starting to write code for mobile devices. And, you can write, you can take the most complicated watch in the world, the mechanical watch, the one that I think Vacheron Constantin now has it. And that watch, you could do it in a long weekend writing code to do all of those things, and then you can put it in a watch. What we're dealing with, I think, is important to understand. We're dealing with this Rube Goldberg contraption. I mean, when you stop and think about it, and someone says, "Well, I'm going to take the fun out of it. I'm going to take out something that you could control." That's my only thing I don't care for silicon. Plus the fact that I think they punted on it, basically, because the problem they were trying to solve were the problems that you have with heat and cold and magnetization. And so silicon, we'll work that out. What they did to get silicon to work that way, I think, is, really fantastic. But if I want to watch that I don't have to worry about the time, I'll go down to the Apple store and get an Apple Watch. Okay. But I got watches I can play with, I can break, unfortunately. That's to me. So, I mean, the other thing too, Thomas, you get a Patek Philippe, take their nicest Calatrava with a silicon hairspring and so forth. And then you get a Tissot with a silicon hairspring. or a Hamilton or one of the others that, that Swatch owns, that they have them. And they can both go in and they can hook them up, and they can get, both of them will get COSC certification. Because, I mean, you've got basically the same, everything is the same. Because with a silicon hairspring, you have I mean, you're not affected by the heat and cold, and you got something you can't change it. It's too brittle. So, I mean, I know that Omega had that thing with the blade that's supposed to, doesn't do much for that. So that's someday I'm going to explain that. One of the things I was looking up some Rube Goldberg stuff, and they have these children playthings that are Rube Goldberg contraptions. And why would kids want to play with something like that? Because it's fascinating. Whereas this other stuff is like what I used to do. Yeah, you put a little code in and boom, Bob's your uncle. You got a watch that'll more accurate than the sun. So anyway, Thomas, that's sort of my view on that. Okay, guys, listen, I got the alarm from the rancher tell me it's time to go. And so I'm going to bolt. And, maybe some other time we can do this again. I wasn't sure you guys would want to do this. Anyway, take care, be safe, and some of you I'll see tomorrow. Take care.